Everyone, this is Jessa Libre and I am the first reporter of instructional strategies in grade classes. So these are the subtopic that will be discussed in our report. First, we have fairness, followed by differentiated instruction, principle of a differentiated instruction, teacher's role in differentiated classroom, flexible grouping, ways to differentiate, learning cycle, and in planning and implementing differentiated instruction. Now, what is fairness? So, according to Diaz, fairness is not everyone getting the same thing. It is everyone getting what they need. Since multi-grade classes or multi-grade school combines students of different ages and abilities in a classroom under the direction of one teacher, basically it refers to diverse students and thus also means diverse needs. So fairness is providing students with learning opportunity that best suit to their learning needs. So since every single student is different from other students, this implies differentiated instruction because not all students in a multi-grade school learns the same ways. Now let's proceed to the differentiated instruction. So differentiated instruction, it allows teachers to meet students' cognitive and developmental needs as well as to accommodate to their interest and learning style. So differentiated instruction is when a lesson is tailored to meet students' learning style and needs because we can expect our students to all be on the same ground, and differentiated instruction is there to ensure that all students can best learn in their preferred way. So now, these are the key principles of a differentiated instruction. First, teachers make difference because in a multi-grade classroom, there are different kind of pupils, and a teachers can make a difference by using his or her unique skills and talents to help students learn effectively by providing different learning opportunities for students. Second is students differ in learning preference and need multiple and varied avenues to learning. So students need to be offered a variety of ways to show what they've learned in a way that reflect their individuality, and it should be used to see multiple pieces on how a students learn. Next is all students can learn what is important for them to learn. Curriculum instructions and assessment. We have also instruction must be meaningful. This is the important to achieve understanding of the learning concept and the world around them. So next is diversity. Diversity should be valued and respected. Yes, this is important to students that it should feel that they should feel that they are valued and respected inside the classroom. And last is flexibility is the hallmark of a differentiated classroom. So in a differentiated classroom, students work in many patterns. Sometimes they work alone, sometimes in pairs, and sometimes in groups. So let's proceed to teachers' rules in a differentiated classroom. So the teacher must move away from notion that they dispense information and knowledge and move towards seeing themselves as organizers of learning opportunities. The teacher proactively plans and carries out varied approaches to content, process, product, and learning environment in anticipation of and response to students' differences in readiness, interest, and learning needs. So now let's flexible grouping. So when we say flexible grouping, it is the heart of differentiated instruction because it provides opportunity to students to be part of many different groups based on their readiness, interest, or in a learning style. So groupings may initially used for instruction. It is not permanent arrangement and students divide group practice enrichment and it will only last or hours, days, weeks, and it is not permanent. Now let's proceed to the planning for groupings. So these are the things that will be considered in planning for groupings. First, how does flexible grouping benefit students? Does flexible groupings provide pair for struggling learners? Does it encourage active learning? Second, when does grouping facilitate instruction? Does groupings helps to easily accomplish instruction and test? Third, how do you determine group membership? Is it by grade level or by interest or by readiness? And the last, which activities lend themselves to group work? Benefits of flexible grouping to students. So we have first, it gives students and teachers a voice in work arrangements. Second, it allows students to work with a variety of peers. Third is to keep students from being pegged as advanced or struggling. So pegged means described as advanced or struggling students. Now, when you are in a group of pairs that are more advanced or struggling, the group is working to have everyone develop understanding or group mindset to accomplish group tasks. So all in all, flexible grouping helps support accelerate learning and it also increase students' engagement and support their social and emotional needs.
Now let's have here the learning cycle and planning and implementing differentiated instructions. When we say learning cycle, it is the process through which students acquire the knowledge of base. Now, how important is the learning cycle in planning curriculum? For us to guide learning on different levels, starting with awareness of information and continuing until students can utilize new information in their own teaching. On the other side, differentiated instructions means the instructions to meet individual needs, whether the teacher differentiated content, process, products, or the learning environment. Now, the use of ongoing assessment and flexible groupings makes this a successful approach to instructions. Now, how is it implementing differentiated instructions important to instructional strategies and multi-grade classes? By providing your students with a different awareness or approaches to their learning experiences. Now, these are the learning cycle in planning and implementing differentiated instructions. In implementing differentiated instructions, we have three elements here. First is content. What to taught? All students need to be given access to the same core content and taught the same big ideas and concept content includes what the teacher's plans for students to learn and how the students gain access to the desired knowledge, understanding, and skills. Now, how we can differentiate access to content. Content includes curriculum topics, concepts, or themes. It reflects the prescribed standards, state or national, and presents essential facts and skills. In differentiating content, teacher needs to provide students with choices in order to add depth to learning, providing students with additional resources that match their levels of understanding. Next is the process. How to taught. Process can be thought of as the learning experiences that are designed to help students make sense of, understand, and use the content. An effective learning experience involves students in using an essential skill to come to an understanding about critical idea and is clearly focused on a learning essential or goal. Now, in differentiating process learning process, it is involved by providing varied options of different levels of difficulty or based on differing students' interest. Also, offering different amounts of teacher and student support for a task. By giving choices about how students express their understanding and varying the learning process depending upon how students learn. Okay, so next to process is the product. How learning is assessed. It refers to the artifact item as a students can use to their knowledge. Demonstrate their knowledge by understanding and skills. A good product allows students to apply what they can do, extend their understanding and skills, and become involved in critical and creative thinking and reflect on what they have learned. Now, to differentiate product can allow students to help design product around learning goals and intentions. Encourage students express what they have learned in varied ways. Allow for varied working arrangements alone with a group. Provide product assignments at varying degrees of and difficulty to match students' readiness. Use a wide variety of assessments and work with students to develop rubrics that match and extend students' varied skills in levels. Teaching according to students. Now, how can a teacher differentiate students' needs? Teacher can differentiate according to students' need on the characteristics as students differ in their readiness to work with a particular idea or skill at a given time. Also their interests and pursuits or topics, and their learning profiles which may be shaped by learning style, group, and environmental preferences. Now, when the teacher differentiates which are the which are the which are the three factors of students' needs, this will be to consider individually or in combination. Readiness readiness is a given skills, concepts, or way of thinking Or in other words, it is the level of and background knowledge of the students. Teacher can tend to use diagnostic assessment to determine a students' readiness. Next is interest. Things that learners find irrelevant, fascinating, or worthy of their time. It refers to the topics that students may want to explore or that will motivate them. Teacher can um, assess students about their outsides, interest, and even include these in their planning processes. Last is a learning profile. Refers to the things such as learning style. Example, is the students a visual, auditory, tactile, or kinesthetic learners? For grouping preferences, example, does the students work best individually with a partner or in a large group? So for environmental preferences, for example, does the students needs lots of space or a quiet area to work? So that is for the learning profile. Now, look into this table according to universal design to DI based on students' readiness, interest, and learning profile. This can he or she access the information or how do we plan? First is determine the ability level of your students. Secondly, survey past records, align tasks and objectives to learning goals, survey students' interest, inventories, response to open-ended questionnaire with questions. What are your students' multiple intelligences and learning styles? What are your students' preferences and motivators? Instructions is concept focused and principle driven. So these are the examples at the right side. Use reading materials at varying readability levels. Put text materials on tape. Use spelling vocabulary tests at readiness levels of students. Use reading buddies. Meet with small groups to reteach an idea or skill for struggling learners or extend the learning. Now let's move to the process on how to process information and organize and store, retrieve, and apply information. First is flexible grouping and consistently use. Groupings are not fixed and should be dynamic in process. Teach whole class introductory discussions, then follow with small group or pair work. Direct instructions, inquiry-based learning, cooperative learning, classroom management benefit students and teachers, organization, and routines. So, if, for example, use tiered activities, provide interest centers, develop personal agendas for completion of work, manipulatives or hand-on support, varying the length of time, memorization, KWL, KWL, reciprocal teaching, graphic organizing, scaffolding, webbing, self-talk, web quiz, and guided notes. So those are the examples of process. So lastly is the products. culminating projects that ask the students to rehearse, apply, and extend what he/she has learned in a unit. How to? First is initial and ongoing assessment of students' readiness and growth are essential authentic assessment. Next is authentic assessment, and students are active and responsible explorers. Vary expectation and requirements for students' responses. Consider each student's multiple intelligences and learning style based on the outcome. So these are the example. Give students options of how to express required learning, create a puppet show, write a letter, develop mural with labels, use rubrics that match students' varied skill level, allow students to work alone or in small groups, performance-based assessment, and students' portfolios. Lastly, a knowledge mapping. So that is for the products. Okay, so all the information with the content, process, product, and learning environment according to universal design to DI is can be readable to the table. So that's all for the learning cycle and planning and implementing differentiated instruction. Thank you for your listening.